learn the latest updates surrounding Hakim Ziyech, Raphinha, Dembele, De Jong and De Ligt. We have a ton of things to break down and discuss. I don't want to spend too much time in this intro, so if you like today's video, help me get 3k likes. And before we get into anything, I want to get one quick plug out of the way first. Right now, at this point in time, the new home season kit for the 22-23 season is officially out. And at this point in time, you can buy the kit for yourself right now. Now I'm here to make your lives easier and simpler. Yes, I'm a great guy. I do my best for you guys. In the description below, you can get access to my 10% off discount codes by using Nini10 at checkout. So if you're planning on getting the home season kit in time, or for your kids, family, girlfriend, partner, etc, then of course, what you guys waiting for? I'm here to hook you up, and you'll find all the relevant information in the description below. So without wasting any more time, right now, let's start things off by discussing the latest news involving Hakim Ziyech. Now, reports in Italy are suggesting that a move to Milan is coming very soon. There's a few holdups though. One of those holdups are over his wages. Ziyech is earning around 6 million net per season. For Serie A clubs, that's a lot of money to spend on one player. So potentially could we find ways to maybe subsidize his wages to push the move there? Maybe. And I think ultimately it comes down as to whether Milan accepts our terms of course, buying Ziyech on loan with an obligation to buy and not an option to buy. Because with an obligation to buy, it means that Milan can buy him outright once certain clauses are activated in that deal. And I think for me, we want to start reclaiming some money back. We don't want the player to lose his value as the years go on, like many other players do. And it feels that maybe Hakim Ziyech too doesn't want to waste any time in this future, because he just released this on his official Instagram page. And as it says by himself, I have reached a point in my life where I feel that the time is right for me to take full control of my professional future. I want negotiations and decisions about my career to be made by me. So moving forwards, my team and I, together with our legal representatives, will handle the business side of things. Professional interest should be directed to the contact info in my bio. I remain incredibly grateful for your continued support, Hakim Ziyech. And that's it. Essentially, this means that Ziyech has left his long-standing agent and now he is doing things by himself, working with lawyers and reps. Now, this follows on from the big example set this summer made by Romelu Lukaku, who engineered that loan return back to Inter Milan without the use of his agents. Of course, him and Pastorello parted ways once the contract for their relationship was over. And I do feel like we are going to see more of this as it's becoming more and more of a trend in football. Is a middleman really necessarily needed? It feels like the individual parties involved in the offer would get better rewards out from it for themselves. Ziyech and players in a similar mold could maybe command more money in terms of fees they're earning once they sign for clubs, etc. You guys can probably imagine how it could work for yourselves. So it's interesting that Ziyech now is taking his future and his destiny in his own hands, and it seems like his move to Milan will be finalized pretty soon. So right now we move on to the next story. We move on to the second story, and it's time to discuss what the hell is happening with Ousmane Dembele and Raphinha as well. Now, starting with the reports that came out like an hour ago from Romano and other publications, but it seems like Barcelona are now presenting a new offer and bids to Leeds for Raphinha. Now, originally we had the advantage. Our offer was greater in terms of the add-on value on the deal, meaning that Leeds would have earned more than 70 million, and the fact that they're earning more money up front from this deal. Leeds have said for time, if you want him, you have to match Chelsea's offer. You have to come to something much better than that. And it's believed that the latest offer, an attempt to sign Raphinha, which literally broke like an hour or two ago, is possibly going to match those demands that Leeds want, of course, to sell their player. Now, Raphinha's played a very long game. I'll be mentioning this point time and time again. I don't want to continue saying the same points, but it does feel like maybe the strategy has worked out for the player in the end. Now, even though Barcelona are growing more confident with this new bid they're making for Raphinha, Romano released a story, he broke the news, and he's saying that the 50 mil they're guaranteeing up front plus add-ons is still not enough compared to us. We offered 60 mil up front plus add-ons that will take it to around 75 million euros. So Barca still have a way to go, but the confidence continues to grow and grow. Here's where things get interesting now, as many conflicting reports are suggesting that Barca might not be able to afford Dembele and Raphinha at the same time, and that, listen, if they're committing to one of them, it means that one of them, of course, can't stay for them as well. And this is where this would be incredibly amazing for us, because to maybe sign Dembele on a free, where you're not coughing up 55 million, that would allow us to reinvest in the squads in this summer or potentially even in January as well too. But at the same time, there's also some other reports that suggest that Barcelona can still sign both players as well. But for me, I'd imagine that that will fully depend on whether they can actually sell De Jong in time and of course generate some money and get some cash. But you know, it's just very, very interesting. We know Dembele, as reported by Romano now, like an hour ago, Dembele's camp and Barcelona's camp now are closer to reaching an agreement now. But ultimately, Barca will have the final say before agreeing to a green light, of course, to sign Dembele. So when you're reading things like this, for me, it's kind of reinforcing this fact that Barca can't afford to sign Raphinha and Dembele at the same time, because otherwise, what is there to greenlight? And there's more confirmations behind this now. You're looking at reports at Barcelona suggesting that maybe Xavi would prefer to keep Dembele, even though he's in a situation where he's not going to say no to Raphinha if a deal for the player can get done. They understand that, you know, maybe you might have to make sacrifices on the player. But other people at Barcelona prefer to just sign Raphinha over Dembele. So when you have this type of structure at a massive institution like Barcelona, it's no surprise that everyone has a say and wants their say to matter. I'm hoping though that in the end it works out in our favour, because I feel like either way we can be the ultimate winners, because we'll just literally sign the player that can't sign for Barcelona, who's going to be a great player for us that will add to our team. So we're not going to miss out on anything, to be honest with you guys. So you'd imagine that things will continue to intensify with the futures of Raphinha and Dembele, but the fact that it seems like Barcelona now are agreeing a fee with Leeds now for Raphinha, and that they're close to agreeing contract terms with Dembele, I feel like they'll have to pick between one of them before moving on. So right now, we move on to the next story, and it's time to talk the future surrounding Matthijs De Ligt. A lot of conflicting reports, as I've been stressing a lot. The reports from Germany are backing Bayern, the reports in England are backing us, and reports in Italy are backing Juventus. So I'm going to focus on the reports coming out from Germany, because they're really intensifying, growing a lot more, and maybe things are starting to get a little bit worrying at this point in time. They're basically saying that De Ligt is closer and very close now to moving to Bayern Munich instead of us. We know that Bayern's original plan for De Ligt was to entice the player, sell the club, you know, with sporting vision, strategy, etc. to De Ligt in order to get the player to reject us outright. So Bayern Munich can sign him for less than the 80 million plus that Juventus are looking for to sell De Ligt. So I hope that makes sense for you guys, are able to understand that. But regardless though, De Ligt spoken to Nagelsmann and director Salihamidzic from Bayern Munich, and it seems like he's been giving them their blessing over a move. German reporter Plettenberg does state that De Ligt's management is only talking to Bayern Munich at this point in time and is not talking to us in order to force this move now to Bavaria. To continue on, it says that Bayern Munich are offering the player a deal that will take him to 2027, and in terms of the contract they're offering him, now I'm not too sure about this for my personal opinion, but it's a bit of a mazza if this is the reality. But it seems like he'll earn between 17 to 19 million euros. That is a lot more compared to what he's earning at Juventus, and that's a wage packet of around like what, 14 to 60 million a year, which is a criminal amount of money to spend on just one player. Still though, with De Ligt apparently rejecting us now for Bayern Munich, it means that Juventus could sell the player now for 70 million, but I feel like that is only the German reports coming out at this point in time. Expect there to be more updates coming out from the English side as well, and hopefully from the Italian side too. I would not be surprised if Bayern and like their influence with like some of the German reporters in Germany are maybe like stretching the story and trying to find tactical ways to benefit themselves. Because a lot of reports in England, and from some of the things I'm hearing too, is that maybe we're more likely to be signing De Ligt compared to Bayern Munich at this point in time. So let's see how this story continues to evolve and develop. But right now, we end things with the final story, and let's talk everything happening with Frenkie de Jong. Now, yesterday night, we know that Todd Boehly was officially in Barcelona. He was recorded being there as well, holding a 1-hour meeting with, of course, the Barcelona camps, figures, reps, etc., etc. Now, in that conversation, we know that Aspi and Alonso are getting closer now to making moves to Barcelona. It seems like a fee of around 3 million for Aspi could be close at this point in time. And on top of that too, we also held talks over the availability and possibility of other players as well. Now, names like Depay and Des were brought up as players to use as a part exchange for Alonso and Aspi, but we rejected that outright, with Des immediately being rejected outright because Personally, I don't think it's of that level that we actually need to keep things real, so I'm happy behind that. But one of the main reasons behind this meeting to begin with was we wanted to get some clarification on the future of Frenkie de Jong. We wanted to get some confidence in that sense about whether we should actually make an official approach and bid for the player. Reports from Frenkie de Jong's camp are correct, saying that there's been no contact with us, because why would there be contact when we're trying to find out from Barcelona first if we can get the go-ahead, get the all license and clear to make a move for the player, and whether we have a chance to do so, because why waste time if he's that much closer to signing for Man United? We know that Barcelona want around 80 million euros to sell him, and we know that financially they are screwed. They owe him 17 million, and a report came out like literally recently today too, that so far they've offered Frenkie de Jong 3.5 million out of the 17 million they're owed, and they're hoping that he's going to just allow the rest of the millions owed to him to, of course, force that move quickly to Man United. I just think it's just typical football. That a lot of times we fans were constantly calling for players to be loyal. Yet when players are loyal most of the time, that loyalty is never repaid. It is never ever repaid. So it's just like you're a sucker sometimes if you're going to just blindly let your love of football in the club be the only thing that dictates like your financial value. I still find it interesting that we're making approaches to Frenkie de Jong and asking about his availability, because we'll have to sacrifice someone in midfield to sign someone like him. But a lot of times as well, of course, we know that Boehly was actually in Barcelona. There's evidence, videos, photos, etc, etc. But this is one of those stories where if you read about things, a lot of us would assume that this is rumors, it's fake, it's being made up, when this is kind of the reality behind how a lot of stories come out. I mean, you got to think, you know, clubs aren't just going to talk about one player for hours and hours, weeks, months and months. You're constantly talking about possibilities of this guy, that guy. You talk about all the ways you can make a deal work, all the ways you can maneuver through things to get the best possible deal for all parties, etc, etc. And a lot of times, you know, nothing comes from these conversations, but for me, it doesn't mean that we can't learn these updates and understand what's happening, because these are real things that are really happening, and they really happen when an owner is having like a 1 hour meeting in Barcelona. We know that Boehly, he missed the international over these past few weeks. He's been flying everywhere, so it's no surprise why we're going to have so many updates surrounding players and what's happening in this window. But to end with things, Barcelona, it feels like if they gave up on their pursuit of like Lewandowski, Raphinha and others, you could be in a position where you're probably keeping De Jong, giving him the money he wants, probably giving Dembele the money he wants as well too. So I find it a little strange that they're doing the most currently in the window, and I'm kind of hoping it blows up in their faces and they pay the price for that. How are you guys feeling about potentially going for Dembele and Frenkie de Jong if that's a possibility? Feels like it could be with a very weak, financially weak Barcelona. If Frenkie was to leave Barca, I don't see him going to Man United. I know some reports came out as well, like this past hour, suggesting that Frenkie only wants Man United, but for me, that's just so like nonsensical. That is so stupid that if that really was real, then literally every rating I have for De Jong is going to be out that window, beside the bins on the curb, yeah? That's that. So, I don't know why I took it that far, but I think it's time for me to wrap things up, keep things moving, and make dinner now, you guys. So, hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Get involved in the comments. Catch you guys soon. Cool.